In this lesson, we're going to talk about aids for accuracy and how to measure yourself the right way. As we learn to prepare a top, skirt, and pants pattern for basic fitting purposes on your own without the benefit of working with a professional, we'll work with two patterns. We're working with a top pattern from Butterick, View D of pattern number 5948. For the pants pattern, we're using something from my own pattern collection, the Mimosa Pants, from the Sewing Workshop pattern collection. And we'll be making some reference to a skirt pattern, Simplicity 1465. But you have to have some tools to start. I have a very favorite tape measure that I have to use, and the reason is that I like to use a tape measure that has numbers on both sides in inches, not a metric tape, and I like the fact that there is a number 1 at each end of the tape measure, at opposite ends. You'll want to put a chain around your neck, and I like to use something that is fairly substantial so that it stays in place, and you don't want anything hanging off of it that drags it down. You want it to sit nice and loose on your neck. You want to wear whatever you wear under your regular clothes. You know, you want to get out your best bra, whether it's a padded bra or not, but something newer rather than older. If you wear body-forming sorts of things, like Spanx, for example, you'll want to have that. If not, don't put it on just for the measuring process. Wear what you wear normally. You'll also need some elastic, and you want to use the elastic around your waist that is about the same or the exact same that is going to be in the garment that you're going to be making. I'm very comfortable with using 1-inch elastic around my waist. Most of my waistbands have that sort of width to them, so use whatever you are comfortable wearing most of the time. As I measure myself, I will be filling out my personal measurement chart. I suggest that you print out 2 of them, one for the top and one for the bottoms. I also recommend that you watch this section, watching me measure so that you understand the process, and then watch it again and take your measurements with me. So let's start with what's called the high bust. We're using our special tape measure here. The high bust is essentially right below and in the armpits and above your full bust. I have my mirror here so that I can actually read my measurements, and I can also check and make sure that the tape measure is pretty level. So I'll record that measurement on my measurement chart in column A under body measurements. Then we want to take our full bust, and that's just exactly what it says, over the fullest part of your bust. And sometimes I'll slide that tape measure around a little bit, make sure that it is level all the way around, and record that measurement. Notice that I've pinned this elastic on rather than tying it. It keeps it a little bit flatter so that when I measure my waist, I'm not adding any more than is already there. Okay, now this is where you have to breathe. The tendency is to suck your waist in and stand up tall and all that, which is great, but we want a really realistic measurement here. So kind of relax and breathe and let that tape measure just spread out a little bit. It's amazing how much difference it makes. I kept a finger behind that tape measure just to give it a little bit of space. This one gets a little bit tricky because I have to measure the back of me, which I can't see. So I put the tape measure and feel that chain, grab it, and find the bottom of the elastic. That's the beauty of this tape measure, being able to see both sides of it. So I'm at 18 inches. All right. Now for the high hip. We use the word hip in this case, but it really is more about the tummy. Some people have high hips. I happen to have a tummy. So I'm wanting to find wherever that fullest part is. But I also want to know where that measurement really is. So at the side seam, I use this wonderful tape measure to be able to use the other one, the number 1 at the other end, and find out how far down that measurement is. So we record both of those measurements. At 3 inches down is where I was the fullest. Full hip, you have to slide this tape measure around to find that. Want to make sure you're really level. Some people are full really low, some people are full higher. I'm just kind of in the middle there probably. And record that measurement. Shoulder length is really tricky to do on yourself, but this is why you want this chain around your neck, and you want it kind of loose. So you have to look in the mirror, find the end of that chain, the edge of it. You can also turn your neck and find a crease, but generally a chain will fall in that crease line. But you want to come down the center of your shoulder, and you want to find where that bone kind of drops off. Now let's say you can't find that bone. There's a little padding there. Well, then you might want to just look in the mirror and actually get a sense of a distance that you're happy with. This is one of the most important measurements you'll take, and it's one that we don't take very often. The next 2 measurements have to do with placing a potential bust dart. So you find that same point at where the shoulder seam ends at the chain, but come out here to about the middle of your shoulder and find the bust point. And then you want the distance between those bust points. I have to have a mirror to see that. Arm length. This one's tricky because it's like you need 3 hands. So I use a little masking tape at the end of the tape measure at my shoulder. Then I want to come down to my elbow. And if you need to tape that, you can do that. And then come down to just below the little bone on your wrist or wherever you like to wear the sleeve length. You also can measure an existing garment and check a sleeve length as well if this seems too cumbersome for you. I have to say it's a little awkward. So now we're going to measure the upper arm girth, and that's also quite awkward. So I have this really special tape measure here that has a little ring on the end. You can see I've already looped that through so that I can just slip that through, my arm through the loop, and draw it up. Put your arm down, relaxed. If you're right-handed or left-handed, you might want to do it on the more dominant arm because it's generally a little bit bigger. And record that measurement. Now, if you don't have a tape measure like this, although in your resource list it's listed as to where you can get it, you can use a regular tape measure and simply add a D-ring or some kind of little device at the end, tape that, and be sure that after you measure that you subtract the distance that you've used to loop it. The next measurements have to do with pants. And I use the word stride. Some people use the word crotch. Doesn't really matter. So you take your number 1 at the end of a tape measure, put it through your stride, and put it the top of the tape measure at the bottom of the elastic. And I can check in the mirror to see that that's happening. And then bring the tape measure through the stride loosely, not super tight, just a little bit loose, and measure again to the bottom of the elastic in the front. Now on the measurement chart, there are some other numbers that you want to use. I don't exactly know yet what my starting size is, but I have a feeling based on other pattern work that I've done and maybe what other sizes of things that I've made, that I need to add some numbers to this. So stride plus 1 inch if you're below a size 16, or the stride measurement plus 2 inches if you think you're above that. And I'm pretty sure that I am. So I'm going to take that stride measurement of 26.5 and add 2 inches. So I'm going to record 28.5. This is one of the most important measurements that you want to take for making pants. It's a measurement that very few of us even have taken, and for me it's like embedded in my brain that I know what that measurement is. It's like I know what my shoulder length is, I know what my stride measurement is, because those are the two really important measurements. But now I want to figure out the total length of the pants. So I'm going to put the tape measure on the floor, and I'm going to stand on it with my heel at the 1 inch mark. And then I'm going to bring the tape measure up to the bottom of the elastic, and I record that measurement. But I want to take away that 1 inch that I was standing on. So I'm going to be at 39.5. Just make note of the fact that whenever I measured, whether it was for a top pattern or a bottom pattern, I always took the measurement to the bottom of the elastic. That's the actual set of the waistband.